Hello. It is April 13th, 2025, and I finally played another 3 round of USCF regular 25 delay 5 thing, my dude. I don't know if I mentioned in the last video that I was going to say, hey, I'm going to play again in 2 weeks, and then that never happened. Yeah, I got sick. And I'm pretty sure I got sick because my third round opponent just kept letting out these like huge sighs into my face. Yeah. So that's why I didn't attend the one that happened 2 weeks after the last one I played, but I decided to come back here and play again. And yeah, overall it was a decent day. Yeah, I would say so. It was all right. Just heading straight into the first game here. I have the black pieces against Anthony Kozakowski, rated 1910, which is way higher than the average guy that usually plays there. The average is usually like 1100, 1200. This guy's like 1900. There was like a bigger prize fund this time around. There's like some sponsor or something that was funding it for like college admissions or some shit. I don't know what the sponsor was. I was just like, oh, bigger prize fund. I noticed the night before that there was like stronger opponents coming in, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go and hope to fight one of them, and I did. So I was actually like already happy that I got to at least play against him, because I definitely feel like I can contend against these people that are like much higher rated than my current rating, but we'll see. It's just about getting that opportunity, which is kind of hard. Yeah, so I think he was the highest rated person in the tournament. He ended up winning first place, spoiler alert, so that kind of shows the difference. But yeah, just getting straight into it. I was pretty excited to play against such a high rated player and just see how I do. We go into a Karo Khan, e4 c6, d4 d5, and he plays knight c3. So this is a classical Karo Khan. Main line continues as I played in the game. D takes e4, knight takes e4. Now the main move in this position is bishop f5, and then the line usually continues knight g3, bishop g6, h4. Although you could also play knight f3, knight d7 first, but then you'll play h5 anyway. So let's just say we do play h5, h6. You're not supposed to play h5 because it can get targeted pretty easily with like the bishop coming here, and now there's a problem there. But yeah, h5, h6, h4, bishop h7, bishop d3, takes, e6. So like this is like the main line, and it looks weird because if you look at black's light squared bishop, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Like it spends 4 moves in the opening, which looks really stupid. But at the same time, this knight has moved 1, 2, 3 times, and this pawn has moved 1, 2 times. So it's actually not that bad, all things considered. Like we're on move 10 in this position, but it looks like there have only been like maybe 4 moves played. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. So anyway, I played the second move, which is knight f6. So the idea behind knight f6 is that after it takes, we get a Tartakower structure, and I wanted to play this structure partially because I haven't played it before, but it also blends well with like the 2 knights Karo Khan, where this line ends up happening anyway. And the main idea is that you want to develop castle and then reroute your knight here, and try to attack on the king side. That's what I was going for and hoping for. So c3, bishop d6, bishop d3, castle, queen c2. So now you can see it's more like white that's attacking me than it is black attacking white. And this was a bit of a cold shower because not that I wasn't expecting him to attack me, but I thought with most like in the structure that I usually end up attacking him. So that was a little odd. I played rook e8 just to gain some tempo, and put his knight on e2. I figured this would be better than knight f3 because now, well, I guess knight f3 is not really a problem because there's no knight g5, but yeah. G6, H5, or sorry, H4. And then I played F5 just to like blunt this diagonal some more. And also, if he does somehow take here, I can take back with the F pawn, which does happen later. I did consider H5, but then I didn't like the idea of F3, G4. So he could start with like Bishop D2, for example. Bishop D2, you know, Bishop G4 is an idea, but then F3 anyway. And I just have to go back, and I can't really give you this check. Well, so you can't take because it's pinned, but then after something like King D1, there's just like everything's hanging. Like both of my bishops are hanging, so that's no good. So I'd have to go like Bishop E6 right away, and then he just castles. Although I could take this pawn on A2, but he'll still get F3, G4 and try to like really mess up my pawn structure here. If he really wanted to, he could start with A3 or something. But yeah, anyway, it's neither here nor there. I just played F5. I'm like, all right, let me blunt the battery, and you know, if he plays G4, I can take, and it's fine. So I thought everything was fine. He plays Bishop G5, and I responded with Bishop E7. He after the game, he told me something that makes a lot of sense, and I probably should have followed, which is when you play fianchetto setups, you don't want to trade the bishop you're fianchettoing, right? So in this case, in this fianchetto setup, you don't want to trade the dark squared bishop because it's supposed to be on G7, right? In like, let's say a King's Indian. So by doing this, he was saying, yeah, that didn't really make sense because now your dark squares are weak and you fianchettoed, but then voluntarily traded away the bishop that you're supposed to fianchetto. And that made a lot of sense to me. But in the game, I was like, okay, I'm trading off the bishop. It's one less attacker for white. I'm putting pressure on this knight, which admittedly I can't actually win. And I figured my dark squares are a little weak, but you don't have a dark squared bishop either, so it's a little harder for you to directly attack them. And I thought, okay, well, I can just play queen f6 later, put my queen on g7, and that's like a kind of like a bishop, right? So I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, but you know, I thought this was going to be okay. And the computer says it's still fine. I mean, admittedly, it's more of a positional idea, so it probably doesn't really account for that as much, maybe. Anyway, long castle, bishop e6, king b1, knight d7, and then he plays h5. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. I knew he was going to push this pawn. I was actually more afraid of h6. But I'll get to that when we get there. I played a5. I was trying to like get counterplay here, but it's kind of an empty threat. Like, even if I get my pawn all the way to a3, like, so what, right? He can just play b3, and there's like no danger there. So these pawn pushes weren't really problematic. So I needed to find another way to be problematic. I just didn't really know what that would be. So yeah, I just was like, all right, I at least need to push my pawns, because I know way back when I had a opposite side castling game, it was actually in the very first tournament. I just played like super passive, and then yeah, blunders started happening. So anyway, knight f4, b5 apparently was like the big mistake, but he plays rook de1, which apparently isn't the way to punish b5. Computer says queen d6. Oh, queen d6 was best. No, d5 was best. Yeah. d5. If takes. I don't know, something like here. Or bishop d5. Oh, it wants this. This is a line and a half, but sure. So yeah, rook de1. I played queen f6 just to get out of the way of this, because I figured he's going to capture here and here. And well, if I capture this way, then this becomes really awkward. So like, for example, this. and like he has an open H file, which could get a little hairy if he plays like rook H3, rook EF, rook EH1, or something like simply queen D2, queen H6, which I didn't really want to deal with any of that. So that's why I played queen F6, so that if he does take, I can take with the rook, force him to rook trade. And now if this happens, it's not quite as bad because more pieces have been traded. But yeah, he trades first, we trade here, and he plays queen B3. So as I was waiting for this move, I realized that, oh, this diagonal is kind of scary because the piece here is going to get pinned. So I was like, oh, well, bishop c4 doesn't work because my pawn is there, so I'm fine. But I forgot about queen b3. I don't know why the pieces jumped like that. I forgot about queen b3, and this obviously puts pressure here, so I need to defend it. Rook e8, and then he plays a4. And here I was debating between two different moves. I was debating between b takes a4, and I was also considering king g7. Yeah. So in the game I played b takes a4, but king g7 apparently fails a few different ways because of rook takes. Rook takes. You can take here and then take there, and I'm down 2 pawns. No, I'm down 1 pawn. Well, that's still pretty bad. So then, this has to move. So we can go here and do something like this. And I mean, I'm probably going to lose this pawn. But if rook e6 intermezzo, he can actually take here. Or no, sorry, he can take this. And then if I take, he can take this. So now I'm down a rook, which is not good. And if I recapture with the queen, queen takes, rook takes, ab5, cb5, bishop b5, and I'm still down a pawn. So none of it works. So I played b takes a4, and then he continued with the rook takes e6. But here I just moved automatically. I'm like, oh, you take this, I take back. So I played queen takes. I was trying to offer the queen trade, but I totally misevaluated this. Because after what happened, I'll show you what happens in the game here. Queen takes, rook takes, and now bishop c4 is an option because this pawn had moved to a4 to attack the queen. Right now this skewer works, and I'm going to go down in exchange. Or I guess you'd call it a pin, but anyway. So I saw a different line, but I didn't calculate it at all. Well, I calculated like 2 moves, but then I just rejected it immediately when I really should not have. I didn't realize how dark it was. The correct move here was supposed to be AB, right? We trade queens this way, but I'm not down a piece because I can just take back on f6. For some reason, I just totally didn't see that I can take back on f6 in this position. And now it's a 3 on... Oh, I'm actually up a pawn. So here I'm up a pawn. But then if he takes here instead, which I think the computer said was the better move, right? So AB3. Let me go back. So, sorry, BA4, right? You can take here and win 2 rooks for your queen. And then after like king f7, rook he1, now we have this really interesting position that's kind of complicated, right? 2 rooks for a queen. I'm up a pawn, but my pawns are a little scattered. And he also has quick access to the A file or like the 8th rank. And he can also go like here. Actually, no, he can't because I can take, but yeah, so it's like kind of awkward. Definitely would have been a lot more interesting than what happened in the game where I just lose the exchange. So, a little rough. He doesn't even take right away. He plays rook e5, just preparing himself to start gobbling these other pawns. King f6, now he has to take, so he does. Wins my pawn. And I'm thinking here like, okay, well, I'm down in exchange. It's still 5 pawns to 5 pawns, but, I'm looking at these pawns here. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a world where I can try to like poke at his pawns, try to create a weakness, and then at least like push. You know, like maybe in some world he doesn't somehow have time to defend the h-pawn, or from my h-pawn from promoting. So I was like, all right, well, I'm probably losing, but this is like the only sense of counterplay I have, so I'm just gonna go for it. And I don't know, maybe he'll mess up. That's all I can hope for, right? Like, yeah, sure, he's 1900, but like, fuck it, he might mess up. Knight f4, g3, knight d3. Now I'm attacking this pawn, f3, and now f4. Right, and if he pushes, I can still push and get the passed pawn. And if he takes, I can push this first and just say like, I need every move I can to push the h-pawn. So he does take, I play h5. Now it's like, okay, this is obviously my threat. He needs to stop that. He'll win the game, but you know, how easy is that? King c2, knight takes f4. Right now that my knight has to move, I will take this pawn back. Rook a4. h4. I was also considering g5, but I figured if I played a4, I would have time to play g5 anyway, but that was not the case because after h4, he plays d5, and now there's like a skewer pin thing here. Now, if I ignore or if I try to protect the knight with the king, he'll take here, and I wasn't so sure about this position because after something like, I guess h6, I mean, he can go here and stop the pawn, right? And I can't really stop his pawn. So I probably would have had to go like here first, maybe. But even then, like now he's definitely stopping the pawn because I can't push the g pawn to protect it. Like I don't have enough time to like get rid of this pawn and protect this one. So d5, I could have also played, well, if you want d5 anyway, I mean, it's still losing, right? If I take here, there was something I didn't like about cd here. I don't remember exactly what happened here. But I mean, I guess anyway, right? Like you can still defend. Something like this. And let's say we go here, go there. And I mean, oh, I can't go there, so I gotta do something like this. All right, but you get the point. Like, it's probably not gonna work anyway. So h4, he plays d5. I take. I give up the pawn. I try to like keep pushing and try to like get his rook in a weird spot, but he gobbles my second to last pawn. And here I'm just like trying something and anything to try to like get rid of this pawn here, but there's just not enough time to do it. And yeah, I just ended up, the game kept going here because I was like trying to find some like weird way to like stalemate, but yeah, no, he promoted. I kept doing knight forks and everything, but he got to a point where he could just like sack the rook and just promote. So I ended up resigning. It was a good game overall. Apparently, I just completely misplayed this knight takes f6 classical idea. So I might go back to the bishop f5 line, which is still fine, but you know, I wanted to make it easier on myself to just play knight f6 against the two knights and the classical, but maybe I should just play it the actual main line. I had my chances in the game to equalize, but I just, yeah, like this, I didn't realize a4 would be a mistake, but I totally miscalculated this. And if he went rook e6 anyway, like I should have just went for this. If he goes here, it should be equal, right? As I mentioned before, 3 pawns for 3 pawns. So we go back there, rook e6 here, and then if you go this way, I mean, it's interesting, right? I think he would probably win this position just because it's so imbalanced and not so simple to play, but I mean, you know, you always got to give it a shot, right? So that was the first game. Let's move on to game number 2. All right, moving on to game number 2. I have turned the lights on. I have the white pieces against Gabriel Lin. He's rated about 1,000. Something I've been working on for the last few weeks is playing my D4 repertoire. At Brooklyn Game Night, I played it like back in October to like force myself to learn stuff I'm not used to, namely D4 and some other stuff that I can't remember right now. And recently, maybe like a few weeks ago, we had this young kid come into game night, and he was rated about, he was very high. I think he was also 1900, if I'm not mistaken, or 15 or 17. I don't remember, but he was definitely very like highly rated. And we played a bunch of games. I lost almost all of them, except for one. And the one game I won was in this D4 Catalan thingamadude. So that kind of like reinforced this idea of like, maybe I should play it. So that's what I've been doing. And I told myself I was going to play at this tournament because that's all I've been playing on like my Elite Chess practice games. So it's like, all right, I got the white pieces. I'm playing D4. And here we go. D4, knight f6. Okay, knight f3. And I just want to show like what am I talking about. So the plan, and I'm using a book, Christoph Sielecki's Keep It Simple 1D4, and his basic setup for white is to go D4, knight f3, G3, bishop G2, castle, C4. You go C4 on move 6 rather than the usual D4, C4 moves 1 and 2. And the reason is that it cuts down on a lot of theory. So, for example, D4, right? You don't have to learn the Queen's Gambit accepted. You don't have to learn the Slav. You don't have to learn the Albin counter gambit, the Shigorin, or whatever else there is, right? You don't have to learn all this crazy theory. You just like learn your setup. You have to learn the deviations, which I kind of spoiled here. You don't have to learn like too much theory. You can just rely on knowing your setup and knowing when to switch it. And it's been working decently for me. So D4, knight f6, knight f3, and then he plays C5. And after I go D5, we get into a Benoni. And I've seen this before a few times, and I vaguely remember the theory of it. Well, not the theory, but the ideas, I should say. And basically, black should be trying to expand on this side of the board, and obviously push e6 to block this pawn, whereas white is trying to push these pawns to create a passed pawn in the center. So it's a very interesting opening. There's also like the Benko where you play like b4, but I think the Benko is after some other move order. But anyway, so I just know I need to play d5, right? Taking here is weird. I actually don't know how to play this, but I don't know. dc5 just doesn't look right to me, so I played d5. He plays d6, obviously trying to stop my pawn from advancing too far. c4 defending the pawn. e6, like sort of trying to break it, but I defend with knight c3. Bishop e7, e4, right? I can play e4 now. I couldn't play e4 before because he just takes. So I had to play knight c3 first. Now I can play e4, bishop d7. I'm looking at his position. He's really cramped, and I feel like he wasn't really playing how he should have been. Like, I feel like a6, b5 needs to happen. Queen a5, maybe some kind of knight a6. But yeah, something just didn't feel right about his position. But I still need to develop, so bishop d3, castle, queen a5. I couldn't understand the idea of this move. Like, it's not really like pinning my knight to anything because I already castled. You know, like, is it controlling some squares? Is he gonna like play something with it? I mean, there's no bishop a4 because I can just take. Is dark squared bishop isn't going to come over here to like help because the knight's in the way, you know. I just didn't see the point of this move. So I continue with e5. Now, I was really trying to figure out where do I want my dark squared bishop here. And I couldn't find a good square to put it on, right? Like, if you go here, I mean, you could just play h6. And I don't really want to trade the bishop pair if I don't have to, right? There's no reason. Also because my pawns are on light squares, so I probably want to keep this bishop around to complement these pawns being on light squares, right? So this doesn't seem useful. Bishop f4, I mean knight h5 to try to trade it off. And if I go here, I should not be trading off my dark squared bishop. So that's kind of stupid. So I would go back to e3, but what is it doing on e3? Just staring at nothing, right? And obviously if I go bishop e3 right away, he can go here still and try to trade this off. Bishop e2 does not really pose too much of a threat. Queen b6, and now this is a problem. So I was just like, I'll just leave it there. And I went e5. He takes, I take back with the knight. So like I'm noticing, okay, I have vague pressure on the bishop here. I don't want to take it yet because it's going to help him develop. His bishop is a bad piece because it just doesn't have scope as of right now. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to leave my knight there for now. He plays ed5. I take back with the knight. Kind of centralizing my pieces. I was also considering c takes. It's an isolated pawn, but it is pretty far pushed up. I can try to support it with like now maybe bishop f4 makes a little more sense. Moves like knight c4. I mean, I need to also, I probably would play bishop e3 or something, right? I considered it, but I didn't like the isolated part of it, so I just played knight d5. I can also just support my pawn structure here with b3, and things just look great. So I was like, all right, fine. And then here he played knight c6, and as I already annotated the games for myself, so these marks are in there, so sorry about that. But knight c6 is a blunder, and if you want to take a second here to figure out why it's a blunder, pause the video as I drink some water and figure that out. Congratulations if you found the winning move, which is knight takes f6. This is a remove the defender tactic, so you have to notice that now that the knight is here, it's not defending the bishop. Only this knight defends the bishop, so how do you get rid of it? You take this, and it comes with check too, so there's no like time to, well, even if it wasn't a check, there wouldn't really be time to add a defender while recapturing here in this case. So knight takes f6 check. He takes back with the bishop. It makes sense because you're attacking my knight again, but now I can win the bishop, and which me taking the bishop also leads to, like, it's not a fork per se, but it's a double attack. You probably don't want to get rid of the rook. I mean, maybe you do, but either way, it's bad, right? You either lose the rook by saving the bishop with, like, bishop b4 or bishop d4, which actually the computer says is the best. Knight takes, rook takes. This is a nice bishop, but I don't know why I can't just play this, because you take here. So maybe something like I have to go rook b1 here, here, whatever, but yeah, I mean, that's a hard decision to make, but if you can spot this bishop d4 idea, maybe you can at least play for something. But he played rook fd8, which gives another problem, which would be taking on f6 with check and damaging your pawn structure. So I'm looking at this position and I'm noticing that, like, these dark squares are super weak, and I went with bishop h6, kind of cutting off his king from escaping. Apparently queen g4, which was my first idea, is better. So the reason I didn't want to play it was because of some so I saw this in my head: king f8, oh, not that one, bishop h6, king here, rook here, knight blocks. And then I'm like, okay, but how do I make progress here? You know, like, I didn't really see how to mate, right? I could take here. I mean, I can also just play f4 and I'm winning a knight. Yeah, I mean, this probably would have also been good. I mean, obviously it is because computer said it was better, but bishop h6, I mean, just felt logical to me because I'm cutting off the king, and I'm going to play queen g4, queen g7 mate. He plays king h8, which is a blunder. I missed... So this is mate in 5, and if you want to pause to find the mate in 5, go ahead and do so. I didn't see it. So... king h8, where's the right line? Oh, I see. Okay, so anyway, if you don't want to bother looking for mate in 5, queen f3, which I played, was the right way to go. Obviously threatening queen takes f6, queen g7 mate, so he has to play rook d6. Now, the move I didn't find, was queen f5. I'm not sure if there's a difference between this, queen e4, but queen f5 is what the computer says. You're threatening this mate now, and kind of switching gears and not trying to go for the queen g7 idea. And the only real way to stop it is you can't escape because this square is covered, so he would just, lose. So you have to sack your rook for the bishop. But the problem is that when you sack the rook for the bishop, you're no longer guarding the f6 square, which was the original idea I had with queen f3. So now this is mate. So it was this cool mate in 5 because there's like two ideas going on. After queen f3, there's what am I saying? There's queen f6 mate, but there's also the battery to h7 as mate as well. So that's a pretty cool tactic. I should throw this in a book or something. But he plays rook d6. I missed the mate in 3 and played queen g3. I played this because it threatens mate on g7 and also hits the rook. You can't defend both. Right, rook g8's your only try, so then I take on d6. But now queen f6 is threatened again, so he has to play queen d8. I take the queen trade, defend the bishop with rook d1, rook a d1. He goes knight b4, trying to trade this, also hitting that. How do you defend both? You move the bishop out of the way with bishop b1. I'm like, all right, well, what are you going to do? You got nothing. Like, you just straight up don't have anything. Your king is stuck, with this piercing through its escape, and I mean, there's nothing. Rook e2. I played rook d7. I wanted to go this way and maybe do something here. And then he blunders mate in 2 with rook e2. I did see this move, though, so I played rook d8 pretty quickly. It's mate in, I guess it says mate in 1, but all right, Right, rook e8, rook takes his mate. It was kind of awkward because I played rook d8, and I was like mentally checked out because okay, it's mate in 1, rook e8, rook takes e8, and my opponent just like wasn't moving. Like he was just like looking at the other games and just kind of like looking around, and I'm like, why is he not moving? Why is he not resigning? Like this is clearly over. But I was just like, whatever. Maybe he's just upset and he needs to cool off. I'm like, whatever. I'll just sit there for 5 minutes. So I'm just sitting there like this, just waiting for him to make his move. He's looking at other boards. He's looking over there. I'm looking at him. I look at him a few times. I'm like, what's going on? I look at his score sheet, and I can show this on the camera. I'm looking at his score sheet, and I'm like, is that the reason why? So, on his score sheet, I noticed that he was writing his moves, which is fine, right? But you'll notice here, if I can actually see my own thing, right? So I wrote rook d8 on the left side because that's white's move. But on his score sheet, it was like a move back. And this is just a personal notebook. This is not a score sheet, but you know what I mean, right? He wrote rook d8 where I have rook e2. So I'm looking at the score sheet. I'm like, oh, he missed a move. Is that why he's not moving? Like, does he think it's my move still? But then I'm like, no, that can't be right because the clock is like, in a position where it's his move. His time is ticking. So I'm like, no, it can't be that. So like, what the hell is he doing? I don't know. I was like, all right, in another like minute or two, if he doesn't move, I'm just gonna call the TO over and be like, hey, he's not moving. It's mate in one. Like, can we just like end this? So anyway, yeah, I would have been like, look, rook e8, rook takes e8 is forced, and it's mate. He's not moving. Like, come on. But he's also a little kid too, so I was just like, I'll let him sit there for 5 minutes. But that could have been another 5 minutes for me to eat some more pizza. Just saying. So I win a nice game, but my opponent was 160 points lower than I was ish by USCF rating, and I don't even think 1160 is accurate for me still. Like, I think I should be higher. So anyway, that was game number 2. Pretty clean. I finished that game like super quickly. So that was nice. Going straight into game number 3, I have the black pieces against Parker DeVries, rated 1020. I'm not actually going to put the rating in the title because I don't think I need to. It looks a little odd, but you know what? Well, it's fine. Close enough. Yeah. So I have the black pieces, and I noticed like on the pairing sheet, like, oh, my opponent's rating is 1020. Is it provisional? Is it not provisional? I don't know. But I was like, all right, 1020, I think I can play something different. So context. We had a USCF Blitz tournament in Brooklyn Game Night the Tuesday before this tournament. And for that Blitz tournament, I was prepping the modern defense. Just because I knew it would throw people off. It's one of those openings that you just don't see enough. So most people around my level just like don't have a response for it, or like besides just normal development. I'm like, I might play this over the board. It's been working really well for me online in like 5.0 Elite Chess. So maybe I'll play this. And when I sat down and I was thinking about it, do I want to play Karakan? My opponent's rated 1,000. I don't think it's provisional. Well, it's not provisional, actually. I should know because it didn't have like a little P next to it. I'm like, is this guy really 10,000 or 1,000 or not? I'm not sure, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to play it. I'm playing the modern defense. So the modern defense is a hyper-modern opening where you don't fight for the center with your pawns, but rather with your pieces. Blah, 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 blah. It's something Daniel Naroditsky would say. But anyway, he goes knight f3. The classical, or the move that's the most principled is probably d4, just claiming the center, which is fine, but whatever. Knight f3, bishop g7, d4. Okay, so we kind of basically transpose as if he played knight f3 and moved 3 instead of 2. I continue with d6 just because you don't want to play knight f6 right away because then you'll run into e5. And it's going to cause problems with the knight having to jump around a whole bunch. So d6, knight c3. And it's actually funny because in the modern defense, so you might recognize this kind of looks like a King's Indian if I were to play knight f6. But in the modern, you actually want to delay the development of this knight in favor of the other ones. And it'll look very similar to a King's Indian if they let you play into it. But you're basically trying to play around this open diagonal first because... Actually, I don't know why, but you're basically trying to play around this diagonal first and you're delaying the development of this knight. Anyway, so I know against this setup where they have e4, d4, and then the 2 knights, I can play knight c6. Now you might be thinking, oh, what if they play d5? Well, I just go knight e5, and if they take, I take. Then I'm fine. Everything's fine. He continues with bishop c4. I play a6. Idea being I want to play b5 at a later point. Try to expand. Maybe I'll play like bishop b7, c6. Chip away at these pawns. But he plays a4, so that kind of stops me from playing b5. I play bishop back to g7. I do want to develop this knight at some point, so I figured, okay, now would probably be the time. Obviously, I don't want to go knight h6. Well, I could go knight h6, actually. It is protected enough, but after knight h6, like, where's the knight going? Not there, probably not. You could just go h3 and prevent that, so Castle, knight f6, bishop f4. I'm like, okay, this doesn't threaten anything. I'm fine. I can just castle. Queen d2. I imagine he wanted to trade off the dark squared bishop, as if I can draw the right arrow. Right. This is a common idea if you want to attack the player that has fianchettoed a bishop. You can see this in the 150 attack. Like, there is an opening called the 150 attack where I'm gonna show you. I'm sorry to tangent, but let's just say here, you do play f3 first. So this is like the 150 attack, sort of, where you immediately develop this battery, trade off this bishop, castle queen side, and just h4, h5, g4, g5. Right, immediately just like attack black before they can develop anything here. And it's a pretty interesting game. I actually play this from the white side if they do go for a modern defense. So anyway, let's get rid of that. Let's go back to the game. Bishop c4. Yep. Castle, queen d2. I played e5 in response. I was thinking, okay, please come and take my bishop, which sounds weird because this is my good bishop. But I had a plan in mind where if he goes here, I was going to drop my knight back. He'll take, I take. And my knight can go to c5. And then I can also play f4. If he takes, my bishop is open. If he doesn't take, I'll play f4 myself, lock the center up, and start attacking here with the rook going to h1. Maybe the queen can go to h4. So it's like I was just starting to brew my own attack if he would cooperate with me and play bishop h6. But he played en passant, d takes e6, capture back with the bishop. If I take back with the pawn, this is a little weak. I can't push it because the bishop is here, so I wanted to trade the bishops first. So de en passant, bishop takes e6, bishop takes, f takes, and now rook a e1. Position's equal, but you know, I had plans here to just push these pawns in the center and try to get something going. I could also move my knight out of the way. This bishop has a great vision on this diagonal. Like I liked my position a good amount. So knight d7, bishop h6. So I was like, okay, so you are going to try to trade this off. I'm looking at it. I probably don't actually want to go for that kingside attack anymore because I don't really have the locked center. The center's kind of open. And there's just not enough pieces to make an attack happen with, you know, his rooks are right here, his queen's right there, his knight can very easily swing over. So, all right. So I went e5, which apparently was a mistake. It does block in my own bishop, but I figured, hey, you're going to trade it off anyway, right? And he does. And it's funny because the computer says bishop takes h6 is best, which is really interesting. But he continued with knight d5, pretty good square for the knight, but I played knight c5, attacking this pawn, also getting my knight out of the way, or more nicely placed. b3, defending the pawn. Now I play c6 to kick his knight away, he goes back to c3, and I play queen e7. I wanted to move my rook on a8 to d8. I figured my rook on f8 is doing a good job, just, you know, putting pressure on f2. Just, you have the open file. You deserve the open file. So my plan was to play rook d8, rook a d8, and then build up some kind of attack. Well, not attack, but build up and push the pawns with like d5. And if takes, then these are defending the pawns, and I can start trying to roll down the board. Then he plays f4, and I was not expecting f4. I maybe should have, but it just didn't occur to me. So I thought about it for a while. I'm like, okay, I think taking is fine. This pawn might be a little weak, but I have enough support on it. It should be okay. So I take. Takes back with the rook. I'm thinking, do I want a rook trade? I think a rook trade is okay because... Or, I didn't rook trade, actually. I played knight e6 to ask him what he's doing with the rook. Oh yeah, that's right. Because I wanted to put my other rook on f8 instead and like have him trade with me. So there we go. Rook f8. Rook takes f8. King h1. I don't know what king h1 was about. I don't know, maybe he thought like in the future I was gonna get like this or like some kind of queen c5 or something, but there's no threat there, so I wasn't really sure what's going on. Or maybe he was like trying to move the queen but didn't want to get hit with the fork later. I don't know. Knight goes back to c5. Now I'm putting more pressure on this, but he's got good pressure on it. I could play rook e8 or even rook f4 to try to no, okay, maybe not rook f4, so maybe rook e8. Ton of pressure here. I can push, he push, and I can probably win the pawn. So queen d4 is a good move. I didn't see it either, and I was thinking again like I think it should be okay. So I played queen e5. We go into a queen trade, and now we just have like a dead even, or yeah, dead even, just dead symmetrical position. And it's like, okay, I gotta grind him down and figure out like some way to win this position. I was really expecting rook d1 in this position, and I was like concerned that he was going to infiltrate, but when I looked at it, I totally missed the idea that I can just still go rook f2 anyway, and you can't go here because I just take. Like, it just doesn't work. There's not really any other infiltration squares, so like maybe it would go here, but this just looks awful, right? Like, I don't know how you would do anything. That said, I can't go here because then I blunder my rook. Hey, I got a pawn for it though. But I'm like looking at this line as an example, and it's just like maybe I can get play by trading here and dislodging the knight. Maybe. It wouldn't have been so simple. Definitely, this game would have taken another like 30 moves to figure out. But he played h3 just randomly, which gives me time to play rook f2. He played rook e2, trying to trade off the rooks. This check doesn't do anything, so I was happy to trade because I was going to win a pawn, right? And that's what happened in the game. I won a pawn, and I'm like, okay, now we got to slowly work our way into this endgame and outmaneuver him. So he plays c4 to attack my knight. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go... what was I going to say? In the game, I was just like, all right, so play me something like knight f6, and then I'll go h5. I also probably want to go king e4 to cut off his king. But then he has this, so okay, maybe it's a little annoying, so I'll go h5 first. But no, I think king e4 anyway right away would have been good, but I was like, okay, I can probably just start with h5, kind of like stop him from playing g4, and then it should be fine. So I'll play h5, okay. So I just played h5. I'm like, all right, I gotta figure it out. I don't know where my play is gonna be exactly. And he looked at it and he was just like, oh. And I was just like, when I saw the move happen, I'm like, wow. I thought too far ahead and I just missed what was in front of me. And I just blundered a knight. So I took a second to calm down, played CD, looked at my position after writing the move down, and I'm like, you know, this doesn't look that bad. Like, it's 2 pawns for a knight, but it's 2 connected pawns in the center, and my king's right there to support them. So I'm like, you know, I may have blundered a knight and my advantage, but maybe I can still win this. So I was like, all right, let's play on. He continues with knight c3, which apparently immediately is a mistake and equalizes. Like, knight games are freaking hard, so I don't know why, but computer wanted knight c1, probably to just like prepare, you know, like if we just start doing some stuff here, maybe not there. I think the computer just like wanted to set up like a some kind of like blockade where the knight can find a nice little perch to block everything or something like that. I didn't actually look into this line, but knight c1 apparently was best. He played knight c3. I played d4 to get tempo. Knight a2. I think he wanted to go here eventually, because that's kind of an odd square to put the knight. I would have figured like maybe something like this or like knight d1. But okay, he plays knight a2. I play king e4, bringing my king in. King e2, d3 check. King d2 apparently is a mistake. And it was here my opponent offered a draw. And, you know, when I've heard from somewhere, I don't remember where, I've heard that if your opponent offers you a draw, spend an extra couple minutes and figure out what he doesn't like about his position. And I thought that was really interesting because, you know, if it's a theoretical draw, then like, okay, whatever, like let's save some time. But this is not so clear, right? I have two connected pawns in the center. They are slowly getting pushed. His knight is offside. This isn't so simple for black or for white. So the best move here is to play king f3, which I think would make a lot of sense, right? If you imagine something like this, right, something like that. And I still have to win this position, and it should be pretty doable, but I just didn't like having to work so hard for it, to be honest. I mean, this position is like nowhere near simple, so hard to find. I guess this blunders immediately, but you know, queen versus two pawns is a lot trickier than you think it is. Yeah, so I was like not too excited to go into something like that, but then I was like, wait, so the king race, I mean, it should be winning, but it looked really difficult. And my other candidate move looked a little more simple, which is why I went for my other move, which I'll show you in a second. But then I realized that like, oh wait, what if he goes knight b4 and tries to win my pawn here? Or no, sorry. Knight b4 doesn't work, so you would go knight c3. Or not that it doesn't work, but knight c3 is more efficient, and if you go through like a similar idea, you can get to this where you can attack both of these pawns. So like b6 here, there, and it's like, and here this doesn't look so clear, right? Like we're both gonna promote. I get the first check, but it's not so simple. Like I'm up a million pawns, so it should be okay, but you know, this just looked, it should be winning, but it didn't look simple. I thought this was winning and was simple. King d4. And I'm glad he didn't find the best move to keep an advantage, which is really annoying because I spent so long thinking about this move. And I thought it was like, I thought this move wins, but it doesn't. I totally missed knight c3, and now I just don't have a move. Like I can't push this pawn because he takes. And if I take, I think you can just like race, or this doesn't work. Oh, knight d1, right. Knight d1 is the reason it doesn't work, right? I can't push this pawn anymore. I mean, this pawn's blockaded. I have to go backwards, but then he's gonna go king e3, or actually knight e3 is even better, right? So like if I have to move my king, and of course if something like this, right now I'm just in zugzwang, like I don't have a move. Yeah, so yeah, so knight c3 was the way to win, but he missed it. He saw knight c1, and he thought what I was thinking, which is I need to win this pawn, but I'm going to play e4 to stop you from winning that pawn. He played h4. Apparently it's a huge blunder. I didn't even notice. But I played e3, check, king d1. And here I thought I had the win with d2. And I don't remember what I saw with d2. d2 here. But yeah, this is a draw, apparently. And I mean, I didn't realize it in the moment. I thought it was fine, but GM Delugi, who was there TOing or arbiter, I don't know, like he was running the thing. He was making sure everything's okay. He saw this moment in our game and he's like, yeah, you played D2 and now it's a draw. And I'm like, how do you know it's a draw in this position? Right? I thought I was still winning. He said, yeah, in this position, you just need to play A5 and white cannot breathe. Like, the fact he saw that, like, I didn't see this at all. He saw it and he was like, oh yeah, you needed to play A5. And he still remembers it after, like, some time after this game ended, because this game goes on for another while. And he saw, yeah, you play A5 and now white can't breathe. And I'm like, huh. I was just like shocked that he still remembered the game in the position and knew the best. I mean, I guess finding the best move is not that hard if you know this position in your head. But the fact that he still remembered it after there's like 10 other games going on, like, you know, I was like, wow, all right. GMs are just something else, you know? Fun fact, I played him in a blitz game for fun. Time odds, 5 minutes for me, 1 minute for him. I blundered all my pieces in 20 seconds. Good time. But yeah, that blitz game, I forgot I had 5 minutes. I thought we were playing 3-2 and I was matching his speed, but then I just blundered everything, so that was cool. Anyway, I played D2. It's a draw. Knight E2, King D3, Knight F4 check. You could probably repeat here and get the draw. I played King C3, which is a blunder. I forgot what was the best move here instead of King. Oh, King E4 was better. I don't remember. I don't know the continuation. I didn't actually look at it. I thought King C3 made sense because I'm attacking these pawns and I can like start promoting, but it's actually really slow. So, you know, in the previous idea here where he had Knight C5, right? So you remember I was thinking about this position. If he can get a Knight to C5, he can win these pawns really easily, right? That's what I noticed before. But in this position here, when I played King C3, I failed to realize he has the same idea. And now he only needs 3 moves to clear my pawns, and I need like a million moves to promote. He's also faster. So, yeah, that was interesting. I didn't see it in this version, or like same idea, but in a different way. But I thought I could do this because this formation, like if we were to transpose this formation somewhere else on the board, it would also be it would also make sense. But basically the king itself cannot stop these 2 pawns like this, because if you try to attack the pawn behind the 2 the backward pawn, if you try to take the backward pawn, the other pawn promotes. So for example here, I'll just pick a random move. Here, now you're outside of the box on my move, so I run and I promote. In this case, I just promote immediately, but if you imagine it was over here, right, like way down here, if the king ever takes like this pawn just runs up. So like imagine the king is here, the pawn is here, and it's my move, so I go here, and I promote first, and you can't stop the pawn. So that's why I went with King C3. But it doesn't work. Thankfully, my opponent blundered again and played Knight takes G3. Knight takes G6, sorry. And thankfully, while he was making his move, I saw a tactic if his knight moves. And then his knight moved. So I saw the tactic and I played the tactic. What's the tactic? Another, pause the video and find the winning move for black. The winning move is E2 check. Deflecting the king from blockading the pawn. And now, if you know your pawn in the games, you can just easily see this is winning. Right? This pawn's promoting. So King C2. He tries to go Knight F4 to come back, but I promote to a queen. He plays king e3 to get out of the way. And here I'm like, all right, there's no way I messed this game up, right? Like there's no way, right? Queen g1, king e4. I almost played queen g2 here. I almost played queen g2 check here. But I was like, wait, nope. Blunder check. It's not attacked by the knight. There's no forks. A piece of advice I heard from my friend Anthony at game night, not the Anthony I played, but the Anthony from game night. If you keep your two important pieces on opposite colors, the knight will never fork them. And that helps me immediately spot, well, not only that this is losing a piece, but I can take this. This is a dark square. That's a light square. Okay, no fork. Like no chance there's a fork, so I just take here. He plays knight takes h5. I play, I was considering this move, queen g4, but I'm like, I can just take the pawn and do the same thing and there's a double attack here. Knight f4. And here I'm like, okay, you can't move your knight. If you move your king too far, I'm going to take your knight. And I will just gobble and win. So what I did instead of just like taking the knight right away was playing b5. I just wanted to get a pawn as close to promotion as possible before he tries to unwrangle himself. And then I'll win. Right? It'll be much easier to win because I've pushed my pawn already before he can get out of this nonsense. So ab5, ab5, b4, king c3, king e3. So he's trying to escape. Now's my time. I got to take. But I don't have to take. I could totally win this without having to take here, but I was like, all right, this is like the easiest way to win, so I'm just going to do it this way. Take. Or it's not the easiest, but it's the way that just completely nullifies any chance of like a draw. King takes b4. Now I can shoulder his king out. And after this move, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going. And then here he resigned. So I get another win. It definitely was not clean, especially in this knight endgame. But I mean, moreover, the fact that I blundered my knight here was just inexcusable. Like really, like how, I don't know how I just didn't respond to this mentally. Or I mentally skipped the move to respond to this pawn push. I wonder what the best move is here, though. I'm going to take a look. Knight of6, knight b4. Yeah, knight of6 is, I mean, I think that was in my mind, but then I just skipped over it or something. I don't know, but whatever. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see the graph from, oh, you can kind of see the graph, but yeah, these two spikes are where I blundered. Yeah. Oops. Spike. And then I'm winning. I mean, I know you can't see it, but it's fine. Yeah, so that was my event. 2 out of 3. I didn't win any prizes though, because there are so many goddamn people tying for second place. The guy I lost to in round 1 ended up winning the whole thing, if you remember. So he got the first place prize. There were 3 people tied for second, so they got the second and third place prize pool combined, split. So combined second and third place prize pool, split it 3 ways. I think it was 3 people tied. So yeah, I didn't get any money even though I went 2 out of 3, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Overall, against the main game I'm really thinking about is the one against Anthony Kozakowski, the 1900. Apparently his peak was like 2150, so that's pretty good. I think the game, like I totally could have steered that game into an end game, but I just like have not been calculating as well as I know I can. In that game, I just missed the fact that I can take the queen, and if he takes my queen, I take back, and I'm not actually down a rook. I just saw queen takes, rook takes my queen, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm down a rook. So I gotta work on that somehow, but I'll figure that out. Rating update will be in the description because I don't know what the hell it is yet. But until then, I will see you next time. Take care.